Max Murphy is not the only one with a record of his alias, I suppose, if you want to call it that. I mean, I suppose it's nothing new. You are on the record as Jake Coleman.
Yeah, I have several
CP Dudley.
alii.
Yeah. Spide Ray.
Several aliases that I am documented on. There's certain websites dedicated to professional wrestlers, and it's funny getting on the site and seeing that, like, here's their 7 other things they've wrestled as.
How far back do yours go?
My stuff is scarily accurate back to 2005. It doesn't know the first year and a half of my career. Yeah, there's this German website, cagematch.de. It has a dossier on all of these wrestlers. It's like Indie Wrestler Wikipedia, and it's insane how much they know about me. It's based in Germany.
Do they have BWE?
No. They have no backyard stuff. They actually don't even have me as Captain Psychedelic on there.
Man.
But they have everything else I've done since then. Funny thing was, there was a girl recently who asked me how old I was. And I was like, oh, you take a guess. And I was kind of messing with her about my age. I was like, oh, I'm not going to tell you. And she's like, and she was really frustrated. She was like young. She was like 18. And I was like, but I'll let you guess. A few days later, I saw her. And she's like, I know now. I know. You're 35. And I was like, no, I'm not. She's like, no, I know you are. I found it on this website. And I'm like, oh, I know exactly what website you're talking about. It's like, yeah, everything on there is actually eerily accurate, except for my age. It totally says I'm 35. I don't know how they got just that wrong, but my actual birthday is right. Like, it says December 1st, but it said 1983, which is not the correct year.
I really want there to be record of the BWE because as far as I know, I'm still the champion. I want my belt and I want the fame.
Were you the champion?
I mean, you said it was a non-title match, but there's a 3 count, dog.
Never forget.
That was my win.
Yeah, all right, man. All right, fair enough. Yeah, but as far as non-professional wrestling aliases documented, like MAXXX.
Hey, you got an alias that has nothing to do with wrestling.
Yeah, Eddie King.
Yeah, the class of what? Class of 05?
I would have been class of 05. Yeah. So, as some people know, most people don't. I went to Hamilton Heights High School. We went to Hamilton Heights High School.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Pete, class of 04. Myself, class of 05. But
now that young lady who wanted to know how old you are, do the math.
Yeah, class of 20, friggin' 20, bro.
Ugh.
Like, we graduated and she was like kind of almost born.
That's weird.
I don't like it at all.
Nah,
I don't like it at all. So I was gonna go on a side tangent. Then I decided I probably shouldn't go
about young folks.
The side tangent. I was gonna say another girl that shows up with this girl like hits on me. She's also 18. That's messed up, bro. I could be your dad. Ew.
I suppose you could, but you would have been active early.
I could have had a kid at 15.
Real man would have.
Yeah, I mean, our friend Aaron
Real man.
Kid at like 17. So
shout out Aaron.
Yeah.
What up, dog?
Whoop whoop. Anyway, so yes, I'm on record as Eddie King. Why am I on record as Eddie King? Because as with anything in my life, Pete, I will sometimes joke about doing something to which someone will immediately respond, "You won't though," or "I bet you won't." And those are the key words.
I bet you won't shoot up with steroids for a magazine shoot.
Oh, yeah, you bet I won't. See, if I said it first and then you said it, I'd be like, well, now I'm gonna prove you wrong, idiot.
Right, I suppose order of operations does matter.
Yeah, someone can't just say that to try and talk me into something. But it has to be like, if I say something and I'm half serious, like, I don't know, Deb, I guess I'll just quit and go to Europe. And she's like, yeah, I'm sure you will. Well, Deb, eventually I'm going to quit and go to Europe just to spite you now. Like, I had to. I may or may not have mentioned a week before my senior year started, like, you know what? Like, our high school is kind of small, 144 people in my graduating class. But I was like, the high school just to the south of us, Noblesville, where some of our friends went, had like 600 people, 700 people. Just
in their graduating class.
In the graduating class. So I was like, man, it has to be easy to fit in as long as you don't act like anything's wrong. I don't think anyone's going to question you.
Or as long as you don't look like a 6'4" bearded freak.
I didn't at the time. I was very 17 at the time. I had patchy facial hair. I looked 17. I was chubby and stuff. So I told someone, I was like, man, you know, I bet I could just go to Noblesville High School for a day and no one would even question me. And someone was like, no, you won't do that. I was like, huh, all right, well, I know what I'm doing now.
I didn't have plans Friday. Just changed.
So the kicker to the story was that Hamilton Heights started on a Tuesday. Well, luckily, Noblesville High School started 2 days before on a Friday. So I just said, you know what? I'm just going to go to high school. I'm going to go to Noblesville High School for one day.
Because you have such a thirst for knowledge.
I've always been a straight A's guy. Yeah, I've always been an overachiever, Pete. I've always been a 4.0, except for ceramics class, which dropped me down to a 3.7.
And Max could have tutored you.
Yeah, I thought I would get an A because Mr. Hedges, the ceramics teacher, loved Max because Max was the best ceramics student he ever had. And he used to come into the class and hang out with me. He knew we were friends, and he still gave me a C. The only non-A I've ever gotten.
Ceramics.
Idiot. If I would, I wish I could beat up Mr. Hedges' old ass. I haven't forgotten, bro. You knocked me out of the top 10%. I hate you. I hate you. Not that I even care about actually being in the top 10%, but since it got taken away from me, that's a problem.
Now you've never wanted anything so bad in your life.
Yeah. So I decided, I'm going to go ahead and go to Noblesville High School for a day. So that morning, I got up bright and early. I drove into Noblesville. I drove to Tony's house. And I just went upstairs and hung out with Tony for a minute. I had a backpack on and everything, just like a good senior. Or maybe junior. I don't remember if I said a senior or junior. So I went ahead. I got on the bus. Just normal. Just hopped on the bus, followed everyone else, sat down. It's not like the bus driver cares. Like, who's going to jump on the bus?
I wonder if that still works in today's day and age. If you just add a stop, you think they just let you... Oh, like, why wouldn't they just let you on the bus?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter. And some people don't always get on at the same stop.
Right.
Like, remember, sometimes someone would be with like a mom and someone would be with their dad the next day. So they get on different stops. So who knows? So I get on the bus. I ride the bus into Noblesville High School. I'm walking around before classes start and I'm talking to some friends. And through the course of the whole day, I'll have a lot of people come up to me and be like, oh, man, I didn't even know you go here. I was like, oh, I don't. I totally don't, man. I just want to see if anyone would act like I'm out of place.
Just today, baby.
Yeah. So I show up to some classes. First class of the day, I went to a Tony, which was guitar. And I was like, I'm just going to some fun classes. Why not?
How do you show up to the guitar class without a guitar, though?
Yeah, they didn't have, everyone didn't come in with a guitar. I don't remember if they had guitars just in class or the first few days they were just talking about theory or something. I don't remember at all. But I remember being in there with Tony and when another friend of ours, Casey, and Casey thought it was hilarious. And it was. So... we go through class or whatever, and they read down the roster at the beginning. They go through everyone's name. Obviously, they get to the end, and they're like, "Oh, have we missed anyone?" Or they'd be looking at me, and I would raise my hand. I'd be like, "Oh, hey, yeah, I wasn't on the list." They're like, "Oh," and they'd be confused. I'm like, "Okay, what's your name?" I'm like, "Oh, Eddie King." It's like Edward. I'm like, "Oh, okay," and they'd be a little confused. I'm like, "Oh, that's weird. You're just not on here." I was like, "Yeah, well, I enrolled yesterday. I don't know if that makes a difference." And most of the teachers were like, "Oh, I printed this yesterday morning, so yeah, okay, I got you." And they just would go ahead and write me down. And if we had chairs, they would just go ahead and write me down in whatever chair I was in, just assign me a seat. So I do that, and I go to the next class, and same thing happens. Like, "Oh yeah, I'm Eddie," and they write me down and add me to a class. Next class, write me down, add me to a class. I'm trying to think of all the classes I went to. I went to the guitar. I went to photography. Yeah, I ended up the only little hiccup in the day. And I went to 3 out of the 4 lunch periods.
Well, you're a growing young man.
Yeah, I just wanted to, see all my friends and stuff, and everyone to be like, "Oh, dude, you don't go here." And then I went to math class. Now, math class was the only little hiccup in the plan. I wasn't expecting to get that teacher, but what I mean, that teacher.
Everyone's got that teacher.
Mm-hmm. She's reading off the list. In this class, there are 16 desks or 20 desks, exactly. And they're in little groups of 4. So there's just little bundles of 4 desks all around. So she's putting everybody in their specific seat. She's already written it out. There's 16 students. There's 16 desks. It's 100% success ratio here. So eventually, I'm the only one standing in the middle of the room. She's like, "Who are you? You're not supposed to be here." I'm like, I'm Eddie King. And then she's like, "Yeah, you're not on my list." I'm like, "Oh, I enrolled yesterday." And she's like, "I printed this morning." I was like, "Oh, okay." And she's like, "Where's your schedule? Where's your schedule?" And I have a notebook in my hand because I'm a learned student. I'm ready. I'm eager for knowledge.
I'm a scholar.
I'm ready to just murder my junior/senior year, whatever it is. She grabs the notebook out of my hand thinking that my schedule's in it because I had a couple loose papers. So she grabs it. She's like, "Let me look at your schedule." I was like, "Oh, it's in my locker." She's like, "Why don't you have it on you? Go get your schedule." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I just walk out. I just leave. And I can't even remember what friend I was in that class with. And they kind of just gave me that look like, whoops. And I got the look a lot that day of like, oh, are you caught? Well, dude, you have to think. There's no way they're thinking that some kid is portraying a student and isn't.
Right. Nobody would just sneak in and go to class.
Yeah, like
It's
no
dumb.
one's jumping to the conclusion. Did you ever see that show where the whole reality show was like built around one dude?
Like the Truman Show?
Yeah, it was like the Truman Show, but it was like the Joe Schmo Show, I think was it called?
I don't know about Joe Schmo, but Ed TV was one of them. But Ed knew he was on TV.
Oh, it wasn't like that
did
then.
not. Anyway.
So it's like, say, imagine a reality show where there's just like, I go on the reality show and the other 9 people are playing a character and their whole job is just to screw with me and make my whole experience really weird. So like to fight with you or like start little arguments or start drama in front of you to see your reaction. And which I thought was weird because I thought, man, why don't they just hire some people to essentially be themselves so they don't make mistakes? So it'd be like, so you're Pete, but say you're playing like Michael. And then at some point you mention your kid, but Michael doesn't have a kid. And then I would be like, oh, I thought you had a kid or something like that. Like they would make these little gaffes. And every time they did, it would split to like the aside of them saying like, oh man, thought I screwed that whole thing up. Thought I ruined it. Thought I ruined the show. Every single cast member at some point did this because you would naturally make a mistake.
Sure.
You're living with someone. But every time they would jump to, dude, I thought I blew the whole thing. Like, well, obviously you didn't blow the whole thing because no one in their right mind is going to think I'm on the Truman Show. Like no one in their right mind is going to think, oh, I'm on this reality show and I'm the only one that's not in on it.
Right.
So like, you're just assuming like, man, that's a weird person or that person's like a liar. But at no point are you jumping to the conclusion this whole thing's fake.
Just because you're in on it doesn't mean that everyone else is too. Like, okay, friend of mine who is in this class, be cool.
Yeah, as long as you don't act like it's weird. Like I've always had that. I just act like I'm supposed to be here. I've walked backstage to several concerts and events just because I did that. Or when I go backstage to WWE, I've never gotten questioned. I've gotten stopped because you have to go through a metal detector. I've never gotten questioned. And they barely ever even check my bags. But I have heard that a lot of the extras that go in there get like searched, questioned. They make sure their name is on the list. Like they go through the whole thing, have to show ID and get cleared. Whereas like I always just walk straight in because I just act like I'm supposed to be there and I look like one of the boys. I've done that with music shows too. Just I look like a musician probably. So it's like I'm just going to walk in like I'm supposed to be because I'm the lead singer of the America's Newest Hip Band.
What do you mean look like it? You've performed at least a couple times on stage with or without an instrument.
I have Battle of the Bands and talent showed multiple times. That was at Hamilton Heights where I went for many days. Back to Noblesville where I went for one day. As I exit the room, I'm walking around the halls of Noblesville High School and I'm trying to think of what to do because it's not like I can just walk into a new class now. Like I can't just go into another class and say, oh, hey, I was in the wrong class. But I'm also not on your list. And you also already started class. So it's like, I'm not going to draw attention to myself or create a scene intentionally. So I turn one corner. Now, Noblesville High School was cutting edge. And they were one of the very first high schools to have a police officer patrolling the halls.
Well, they needed to make sure that young minds were being molded properly and kids were there to learn.
Yeah, exactly. And he was there to mess stuff up. But so there's a cop patrolling the halls all day. Now, it's a pretty big school. I knew he patrolled the halls because I knew like, oh, I need to try and avoid this confrontation because I can't prove where I'm supposed to be or who I am. So I turn one corner into like a long hall. Obviously, I was turning the corner, walking that direction. He's walking the opposite direction. I can't turn around. He'll notice if I turn around. He will stop me. So I'm trying to think on my feet, Pete. I'm like, man, how do I cover this? So I'm like, all right, just got to go for it. So I go ahead and I like half grab my crotch and I run up to him as fast as I can. I'm like, hey, man, this is really embarrassing. It's my first day here. I've found like 5 women's restrooms, but I haven't found a men's restroom to save my life. And I'm about ready to die. And he just like looks at me, like cocks his head and then just starts laughing, like rolling. Like that made his morning. He's like, oh man, yeah, just go down the hallway there, turn right. It's the first door on the left. And I'm like, oh, thanks, man. You're a lifesaver. And like nowadays, that would have been one of those moments where I give him a pat on the shoulder. Like, hey, bucko, like you saved me, bro. You're the man. Thanks. Like disingenuous tap on the shoulder, kind of condescending. Yeah, you're probably smaller than me.
Because that's the kind of guy you are now.
Yeah, sometimes. So like, oh, thanks, man, you're a lifesaver. So I run down the hallway. So he didn't question me. Didn't question I was supposed to be there. So I go down the hallway and I spend like 10 minutes in the bathroom just like hanging out. I would say smoking weed, but like I didn't smoke weed.
Playing on your smartphone that you didn't have?
Yeah, I didn't have a smartphone either. Like, man, what did people do in the bathroom before smartphones and weed?
Well, if it was our high school, somebody got the bright idea to take a dump, I think in their hand, and then turn the hand warmer upside down, put their turd in there, and then tape the button on. That was something someone did in our bathroom in high school.
Dude,
yeah.
why?
I mean, terribly disgusting, but smart. It stunk up that hall for a couple days.
Man, just the whole process of setting up that joke is not worth it.
Oh, I don't want to play around with fecal matter. Like, gross.
So disgusting.
But that's the thing.
I mean, I can't hate the creativity, I guess.
I mean, if you're looking to pass the time, there's always just vandalism and general grossness.
I hate the execution. Yeah, if I had a Sharpie, I would have drawn my masterpiece.
Eddie King was here.
Yeah, on the East Wing bathroom on the first floor of Noblesville High. Oh man, that could be worth a lot of money today.
Mrs. Math Teacher is something.
Yeah.
Insert whatever it is.
Yeah, I wonder what her name was. If anyone from Noblesville High School remembers the name of the 70-year-old math teacher who apparently hates herself.
And hates Eddie King, too. I bet she hasn't
me.
forgotten the name.
No, she probably remembers because she would know every person before. Like, she studied the freshman Facebook, which
Didn't exist.
Do you know the Facebook, not the website, was a thing? Like, the freshman Facebook was a legitimate book in college?
No.
Yeah, that's where it got the name. Because colleges, decades ago, used to have what they called the freshman Facebook, which was a book of all the freshmen that were coming in with their pictures. And I only know that because of the movie Dead Man on Campus.
Solid film.
Okay. That's one of the best movies ever.
It is not, but
also
it's funny.
A movie I feel like I used to watch a lot with this crew of Noblesville friends.
Is that
Tony, Jeff, Big Nig.
Is that why your GPA was unblemished?
Yeah, that would have been great. Yeah, it turns out, man, if your roommate kills himself, you get A's. That's totally the basis of the movie. It's great. Tom Everett Scott's the man.
It's like Van Wilder before Van Wilder.
I would love to watch it again now, but if it didn't hold up,
it would crush you.
Yeah, I would crush myself. And if I considered doing anything, I wouldn't because I don't have a roommate that would get straight A's as a result.
It's true.
Yeah.
Just fake college.
That being said, I walked around my alma mater the other day with a buddy of mine who played football at Anderson University, and someone came up to him like, "Yeah, man, you still got a year or two of eligibility left." And I was like, oh man, if I had a year of eligibility to play high school or to play college football, I'd go back.
You still have 4 years of eligibility.
I think you'll lose it after 26 or 7.
What?
I think so.
No, there's some like 50-year-old dude who played D3 college basketball.
Really?
Yeah, they didn't have enough to fill a team, and he showed up to tryouts. So
what?
Like, all right.
See, yeah, I would totally do 1 year of college football now at 33 years old, just for the hell of it. I'd probably kill people.
Why don't you work on a master's?
I wouldn't be surprised if AU only has MBAs.
Why don't you get an MBA, dog?
Yeah, man, that college is expensive. I'm glad it's paid off now.
Oh, come on. An MBA would be totally applicable to where you're at right now in life. Managing your wealth and your business.
Already lie about my master's in English literature. I might as well just get a legit master's. Anyway, Noblesville High School was great for my day. I finished it up in, I think, yearbook or photography. And I think I want to say yearbook. No, it doesn't matter.
You told me yearbook, for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, so in that class, I had another friend who was like, "Oh, man, I didn't know you go here." And I explained it to him, and I was like, "No, actually, I just kind of got dared into showing up for a day, and no one's really questioned me because I'm just playing it off like I'm supposed to be here, man. Like I said, it would work." And I talked about it for a few minutes, and then I realized that the teacher had actually like started listening into our conversation. Like he was pretty far away, but like apparently he could hear it or whatever. And he just kind of like, we made eye contact a minute later, and then he just looked back at his desk and went about his day. Like he didn't care. And also in that class, Tony was there. Tony was only going to be there for one day too, because he was moving back to San Diego. So he just showed up to say bye to everybody.
You don't have to cover for him. He's dropping out.
Yeah.
Tony's kind of a burnout. He
decided he was over it.
He was done. He's going to get his GED and move on with life.
So he was only there for a day too. So I kind of wondered like, oh, hey, I ended up on the roster of all these classes, and then Tony probably did too. And then we both just weren't there on Monday.
Well, Tony was on there to begin with, though.
Yeah, he was supposed to be there.
Right.
But I wasn't. So I was kind of curious, like, man, I wonder what people thought the next day. I heard in math class, I asked someone later, like, oh, hey, what did that teacher say? And they just said that later in the class, the woman was like, oh, yep. See, he was in the wrong class.
Oh, so she just assumed you looked at the schedule and figured it out.
Yeah, like I just legit showed up to the wrong class and we had a disagreement, but she knew she was right that I wasn't supposed to be there. So it sounded like she was very fulfilled in her assessment that I wasn't supposed to be there and I went to my other class.
Eddie King was actually so mortified he went and hung himself in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Like he knew there was no coming back from that.
Or that first floor West Wing bathroom. That's the one that's haunted.
His ghost still haunts that stall.
His 17 or 18-year-old ghost is still floating around.
Either that or what do you think it was? Murder-suicide? You and Tony were lovers and you just couldn't handle it anymore?
Yeah, we should have, like you were saying, we should have fed someone a fake story to spread around on Monday or Tuesday.
This is a drug deal gone bad.
Yeah, like what happened with that guy?
They got jumped in Tipton and died.
Yeah. Arrested alongside Max Murphy for slanging dope.
Oh, man. Or what if it was straight, you and Tony got jumped in Tipton and killed. Primary suspect is Max Murphy.
Ooh.
We're going to put out an ABB for Max Murphy.
And that's why Max Murphy disappeared, because Max Murphy graduated in 4.
Yeah. Max Murphy had died before he goes back to prison.
There's no record of Max Murphy after 04. There's a reason.
I bet there is. I don't know this to be a fact, but I bet if our buddy now was in trouble,
yeah,
I bet he'd say he's Max.
I'll ask him next time I see him. Like, hey man, just curious. Have you used that name since? I wonder if I've used Eddie King since. I'm debating. At some point in my life, I've probably said that's my name.
What was the middle name?
Ooh, I don't remember.
Just finding holes in your story, man. Come on.
I think though I had fabricated a name. I think I had a like Edward something King.
Edward Eugene King. EEK. That's me.
EEK. Eek.
Yep.
Like I'm a mouse. But yeah, that was my my one day at Noblesville High School. It was a great experience. Seemed like a great school. I'd still go there if I had the choice.
Well, maybe if you spend a little more time there working on your ceramic skills, you've been.
I bet they had a lot better ceramics teacher than Mr. Hedges.
Ooh, shots fired.
It had to be. Had to be so much better. Probably cooler.
That's hurtful, man.
Better looking.
Ouch.
Yeah. Screw Mr. Hedges.
So much rage and fury.
C. He's a C.
You sound like a man who's coped with it, moved on.
Yeah, there's something else I was going to say about the Noblesville High School story. I just don't recall what it was. But yeah, don't tell me not to do something that I said I'll do, because I'll do it.
It's pretty true.
Mm-hmm. So that rounds out this week's episode. We're in the over a whole year mark. That's pretty awesome. We got some cool stuff coming up. But those are stories for another day. Pete is at Multimedia Hustle and Muscle. I am at Off the Cliff Pod and at Coleman 2012. And we will catch you next week.